Imago Dei, it means image of God. It is a revolutionary Christian idea that every single person bears the image of God and is therefore worthy of respect, love, and a recipient of God's grace. Even the worst person you can think of. Even the annoying neighbor who gripes about your grass. Even people who cruise in the passing lane. Even telemarketers. The worst people you can think of are beloved children of God, and that's exactly what we're talking about this week.
Kindred UMC live show features adults discussing adult topics, occasionally with adult language. It may not be suitable for young viewers. Please use discretion before watching.
Hello all, welcome once again to the Kindred UMC pre-recorded live show, coming to you not live, but pre-recorded from my front room, aka Kindred Studio A. My name is Chris Hayden. I am the pastor of Kindred UMC.
I'm Hannah. We're recording this the same day as last week's video, so I'm still tired.
I'm Taylor, and I'm still the resident gay, non-binary exploring candidate.
Woo!
All these things are true. We're so glad you've joined us. We're so glad you've joined us. We're so glad you've joined us. We are continuing post-Easter, looking at accounts of the resurrected Christ. I think this is the last one. Yeah, because next week will be Pentecost. So we are moving. We've done the Gospel of John. We've done Gospel of Luke. There's some repeat stories in Matthew and Mark, but you know, whatever. We're now going to move to the Gospel of Acts. It's not a gospel. It's like a standalone book.
I was like, I know that. Yeah. It's wrong.
But it is written by, it's literally, like, you should consider the book of Luke and the book of Acts the same book. It's written by the same author.
I wouldn't have called you out on it because I didn't know that.
Yeah, so. Yeah, right. So we, I
was just questioning myself. I was like...
In scholarly circles, we call it Luke Acts.
Luke Acts, okay.
Because it's the same writer, it's the same basic book, but it was just divided. And then for some reason, when they wrote the Bible, they put it in different orders. Who knows why. So it's called Acts because it's the Acts of the Apostles. Does anybody know the difference between a disciple and an apostle?
No.
Disciple is a follower, apostle is a sent one.
I swear I grew up in the church.
and it comes from a Greek word,
so
apostolos. Apostolos, which means to send. So apostles are sent. So
oh my gosh. Wow. My brain's really shut down. I was thinking like
sent. Oh no, yeah, no, that's sent.
No, sent like go.
To send them out into the world.
Way more sense.
Yeah. So
you're the smelly ones, and you're the disciples.
Yeah, right. So the disciples were followers, mm-hmm. and then Jesus dies and resurrects, and then gives the Great Commission, and then we start calling them the apostles because they've gone from following to being sent out into the world.
Okay. Oh.
So the Acts of the Apostles is where the book of Acts gets its name. We're going to be reading from chapter 9, verses 1 through 19, and this is the most important conversion in all of human history.
All right. Hit me with it.
Meanwhile, so some stuff was going down right before this. I encourage you to read Acts chapter 8. Meanwhile, Saul, still breathing threats and murder against the disciples of the Lord. Saul is a Jew who really hates Christians and is on a kind of a warpath to like arrest them and destroy the church. Okay. So, while still breathing threats and murder against the disciples of the Lord, he went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues at Damascus, so that if he found anyone who belonged to the way. So, all right, there's a lot of cultural stuff here. Okay.
Does it mean Yahweh?
No. It means like the path.
The path. I thought I was onto something.
The road, the way.
It was got it.
And again, like that, it just sounds like way, Yahweh, because it's in English. It wouldn't have sounded that way in Hebrew or in Greek, or Hebrew for that matter, because Yahweh's in. Anyway, I digress. So here's what's going on. This is still early church. Remember, Luke Acts was written around 70 CE. So the church isn't really the church yet, at least not in the way that we think about it today.
Okay.
These are just Jews who happen to believe that Jesus is the Messiah. And they're starting to get into some trouble with the Jews who don't agree with that statement. And they're starting to get kicked out of the synagogues. They're starting to have problems with the high priest in Jerusalem, the big grand poobah, the Pope of the Jewish, so like there's some tension a brewing, and Saul is kind of an agent of the temple and the high priest who's on a warpath to get...
He's brewing the tension.
Yeah, he's like, I don't like these people who claim Jesus as the Messiah. I'm going to arrest them, and I'm going to do bad things to them, and to get them to stop, basically. Yeah. So because of this division, and because there's no such thing as Christians, they were followers of the way. And like this kind of on a path metaphor to represent your faith and you're coming to realize that Jesus is the Messiah is kind of, this is where we get that idea. That's not like now here in 2024, people, and we're back. The camera battery died because I didn't turn on the power strip that it was
No, I think it's from
plugged into.
the power strip trip that happened.
No, the power strip literally wasn't on.
Oh.
Anyway.
I was trying to get you out of that one.
Technical difficulties. It was my... it was my problem, my fault.
It was your house's fault.
I was saying followers of the way. So there was no such thing as Christians. There were followers of the way, and they are Christians. And they were still like worshiping in synagogues, and then they would like go into their private homes
And then talk
to
about
have
the rest of the things.
to have like Christian worship,
Gotcha. They were getting doubles.
Yeah, so they would still go to the synagogues and they would like debate about whether or not Jesus, and that was kind of the normal formal way of doing it. And then they would go back to their homes where they could share a meal, share the Eucharist, and read the latest letters from the gospel writers and like remember the story of Jesus. So Paul hates that. He's out to get him, and that's what the way, when it says the way, this is like the first time that we actually have that historically.
Like a name.
Yeah. This is the first, like Luke is the first one to kind of name the church what it is,
Wait, are we talking about Paul or Saul?
So this is Saul, and he's going to become Paul.
That's right. Okay. I was like, wait a second. What part are we in the transition?
Yeah, his name is Saul while he's a big ruffian bad boy.
Well, he's a big
Well, he's
doo-doo
very
head.
naughty. Yeah, he's a doo-doo head. Yeah, so, all right. So he gets orders from the priests to go to Damascus to arrest followers of the way. Basically, that's what's happened. Okay? Synagogues at Damascus, followers of the way, men or women, he might bring them bound to Jerusalem, tie them up, arrest them. Now, as he was going along and approaching Damascus, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to him, Saul, Saul. This echoes Genesis and Exodus, when Abraham, Jacob, like several important callings have happened in the Torah where it's Saul, it's the double name. The double vocative is what it's called in smart people parlance. Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? He asked. Who are you, Lord? The reply came, I am Jesus whom you are persecuting. But get up and enter the city, and you will be told what you are to do. The men who were traveling with him stood speechless because they heard the they heard the voice but saw no one. By the way, later Paul's gonna completely change that story and say that they don't hear the voice, and then again another time they're going to change the details of that story in chapters 22 and chapters 26. So just all the literalists out there, is Paul a liar? Is that what you're saying? Are you, or maybe it's not to be taken literally, maybe. Anyway, I always like to pick fights with biblical literalists.
Oh, I know.
I am Jesus who are persecuting. The men who were traveling with him stood speechless because they heard the voice but saw no one. Saul got up from the ground, and though his eyes were open, he could see nothing. So they led him by the hand and brought him into Damascus. For 3 days he was without sight, and neither ate nor drank.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a long time to go without water.
Hot dog.
Now there was a disciple in Damascus named Ananias. The Lord said to him in a vision, Ananias? He answered, Here I am, Lord. Again, referencing prophets. There's a lot of when the Lord calls you by name, the response is, Here I am, Lord. So again, Luke's like a clever writer, and he's kind of pulling from a lot of old stories. The Lord said to him, Get up and go to the street called Straight Street.
Never been.
I was going to say, you guys wouldn't fit in.
Hey, I gaslit myself for a long time. I could have
You can fake your way.
Yeah.
I really have to. But
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Get up and go to a street called Straight. And at that house, at the house of Judas, not that Judas, different Judas. It was a common name.
It was like John.
Yeah, right, exactly.
All right.
To the house of Judas, look for a man of Tarsus named Saul. At this moment, he is praying, and he has seen a vision. Excuse me. He has seen in a vision a man named Ananias come in and lay hands on him so that he might regain his sight. But Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard from many about this man, how much evil he has done to you, to your saints in Jerusalem. And here he has authority from chief priests to bind all who invoke your name. But the Lord said to him, Go, for he is an instrument whom I have chosen to bring my name before the Gentiles and kings and before the people of Israel. I myself will show him how much he must suffer for the sake of my name. Some of that is like not poetic, but like slightly poetic narrative language. Saul is the sufferer. He's the one who inflicts suffering, and now it's
right.
reversing that.
It's like Uno reverse.
And the original language plays that out a little bit more clearly. And then there's some other things in here that it's a little bit of what's called a chiasm, where you start with something, and then as the story goes on, you reach a middle point, and then you start to undo all the things that you did. And so that's a little bit it's not as literal as other chiasms in scripture, but it's a little bit like that. So it's Luke's a smart guy. He's a good writer, and he's making it fun. He's making it almost like a bedtime story, campfire story kind of structure.
Cute.
Because he wants people to.
He's like old-timey Taylor Swift.
Right, yeah, exactly. Top 10 on the Billboard still. So he will suffer. So Ananias went and entered the house. He laid his hands on Saul and said, Brother Saul, the Lord Jesus. So again, Brother Saul now. That's part of the chiasm. He went from the persecutor to now he's brother.
Yeah.
He's enemy to brother.
Down.
Yeah, right. We're on the back end of the chiasm.
Got it.
Yeah. Same with the suffering thing. You know.
Yeah.
So the Lord Jesus, who appeared to you on your way here, has sent me so that you may regain your sight and be filled with the Holy Spirit. And immediately something like scales fell from his eyes. So he was blind. Now he's not.
Yeah.
Chiasm. Scales fell from his eyes and his sight was restored. Then he got up and was baptized. And after taking some food, he regained his strength.
Yeah, because he hadn't eaten in 3 days. So.
Right, yeah, I'd be hungry too.
I'm hungry after 3 hours, let alone 3 days.
Yeah, right. There's also some people are imply that him taking food was also like the Lord's Supper. It's like Eucharist.
He's like being
he's baptized.
allowed in,
but,
not allowed in, but we're bad way to say it, but like
He's
welcomed in, like
welcomed
wanted in.
Yeah, right, exactly. So okay, let's sum up what happened. Paul was what? Saul was what?
bad, mean.
Yes, he's a
Doo-doo
bad
head.
dude. He's a doo-doo head. And why? How come? Why come?
He doesn't like Jesus.
He didn't believe.
Or he didn't
about,
believe.
He didn't believe, but more importantly, what was he doing to people who did believe?
Hurting
He
them.
was
Causing harm.
arresting them.
Yes, the one
Causing
rule,
harm.
The one rule that I do enforce about you can't come to this church if you want to cause harm.
Yeah.
But everyone else is welcome. Yes, so he was arresting people and literally dragging followers of Jesus like to prison.
Yeah.
And he says whispering they never quite say he was
Murdering
killing
them?
people.
Yeah.
But I mean,
But they kind of
there's this weird implication.
they kind of said it.
And I think it's because but he's like our dude now, so we don't want to
Yeah.
right.
You
We
know,
don't
like-
want to full throw him under the bus.
Yeah. Bad dude doing bad things. And what happens to him on the way to Damascus?
Jesus is like, bruh, it me.
Yeah.
Without showing himself.
Yeah. And do you remember the question he asks him?
Why do you persecute me?
Yeah, why
Yeah.
are you persecuting me? Which is quite interesting because he's persecuting his disciples.
Right.
Which are
And Jesus
Which
is
are
like,
us.
yeah,
That is me.
That's me. When you do it to them, you do it to me. Like, which is a
Yeah.
pretty strong,
Powerful
profound
thing.
statement.
Yeah.
You know? And all like it's both and. It's like, that's right. If you're a follower of Jesus, then he's got your back. But it's also like, yeah, if you're a follower of Jesus, then you're supposed to be like Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be like that dude then. Like, you need to treat people well. You need to be a representative of that grace and mercy, you know? Like, there's a calling and an assurance there both at the same time.
Yeah.
And then what happens to him? There's a light.
He goes blind.
Yeah, he goes blind.
It's like that scene in House of Anubis. No one is
I'll
going to
take
get that.
your word for it.
No one is going to get that. It's just what I'm referencing at the moment.
I'll take your word for it. So yeah, and then meanwhile, while all that happens,
Goes to the guy that.
Ananias.
Yeah. There we go.
So what happens to Ananias?
He's like,
Jesus
hey,
is
bro,
like-
I don't want to go to that guy. He's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus is like, go help him.
I'm sending you to him. And he's like, that's the dude that's trying to kill and arrest all of us.
So
I'm
maybe
not going to
no?
do that.
He's like, I'm going to get got.
and
I don't wanna
Jesus
go.
is like, no, trust me.
Like, don't worry, don't worry about it. I am
I
doing
got
something
you.
here. I'm doing.
But this is like
something
3
here.
days later, right?
Yeah, right. Well, because he's
he's-
still walking to Damascus.
Oh, he's
So-
just walking blind. That's
Yeah.
like that scene in
For
Doctor
Or
Who.
he's being
days.
led by. He's got people with him, and they're leading him there. But I'm sure that's going to slow down the journey.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So
Tripping over
Ananias actually does what he was asked to do, and then Saul becomes
Brother.
the most important theologian in history, if you ask me. So a lot of people think that the hero, or that the focal point of the story is Saul, who becomes Paul.
No, it's Jesus.
I think the hero of the story is Ananias.
Oh,
yep,
well-
I couldn't say his name. Sorry.
Ananias.
Ananias.
I keep wanting to just be like, Annie.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when I read this story, do you know who Daryl Davis is?
Nope.
I could go on and on about Daryl Davis. I think it's one of the most remarkable stories I've ever heard that some people have heard, but not a lot of people have heard it. He was a black piano player, professional musician, played in bars and all that, who essentially one night, it was in the 80s, found himself at a pretty much an all-white bar, and he didn't know it at the time, but found himself in a conversation with a card-carrying Ku Klux Klan member. Oh. Long story short, through that interaction, he ends up befriending I don't know their titles, but like the Grand Wizard or whatever.
Yeah.
And the Imperial
big bad
Wizard
guy.
or whatever. Yeah, like he ends up befriending person in charge of the Ku Klux Klan for the entire United States.
Oh, wow.
And through his friendship, essentially converts all the leaders of the Ku Klux Klan to quit, and they gift him their robes when they quit. So this guy, this Daryl Davis, has a collection of Ku Klux Klan robes from people he's converted by simply being their friend. Dope!
It's the biggest FU I've ever heard.
And I mean, you should look up. There's a documentary on Netflix about it. I first heard about this guy from on a podcast from NPR, and like it's like a children's story.
Yeah, you would think it's like it's very like,
It's very giving the power of friendship.
yes, like it's,
Like-
yeah. It's very, cookie cutter. Like, no, just be this, and this what happened. It's okay.
It's like downright Care Bears
Yeah,
kind of
no,
stuff.
literally.
Like if I didn't know it was true, if I hadn't heard this guy talk about it and on camera be like, yeah, here's the robes. I see, like I've
They're
got
right
them.
here.
And if you had, before I had seen any of that, if you'd have come to me and be like,
Guess what?
there's a true story about a man who defeated racism in the state of, like, there's no Ku Klux Klan in the state of Maryland now because of him.
Wow. That's
A black
wild.
man at that. A black man.
He obliterated the Klan in Maryland
He was just
through
like,
the power of friendship.
you know what?
Like,
My Little Pony doesn't stand a chance
I know.
anymore.
It's crazy, man. So that's why I say Ananias is the hero here, man.
Yeah.
He
And he faced
through
his
the
fear.
power of friendship
It was like
converted, like,
the bad guy.
yeah, if that doesn't happen, we're not here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so
Because can you imagine, like, in another world where he continued to arrest and kill
Paul is
do all of the things?
So before Paul, who is Saul in this story, I'm just gonna say Paul now because it's too confusing for me. Before Paul takes up the gospel and the cause of Jesus, the disciples, like Peter was kind of the leader of the disciples, and all the followers of the way, they were essentially focused on like the Jewish community, on Hebrew people.
Yeah.
And you know, they certainly had converts and all that, but Paul is the first follower of the way to really make it a priority. And by the way, Jesus makes it a priority. I don't know why the other disciples weren't big onto this, but Paul is the first one to say, no, this is a message for absolutely everyone. Everyone, the Gentile, not just the Jews, but the Gentiles, everyone, no matter what faith you grew up with, no matter what has happened to you or what your ethnic background is or what no matter what, this is a kingdom of heaven that includes everyone, and he is the one who is the missionary to the Gentiles. He's the one who takes this message to the heart of Rome. He's the one who creates a global phenomenon that is, God isn't mad at you, God actually loves you and wants you to be a part of his kingdom, which is kindness and grace and merciful and forgiving. And like, you know, like Paul, without Paul in the midst of all of that, we don't get this.
We're the biblical literates now.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a profound thing, and Ananias, we have Ananias to thank for it, because he was the one who was brave enough to say, all right,
This dude is probably going to kill me.
Yeah, the guy who's going to cause me harm, I'm going to go to him and show him mercy and forgiveness and love. I apologize for my phone. I didn't put it on silent. So, we don't have a lot of... I mean, like, when I think about my enemies, I don't have any... I mean, like, I guess the Taliban, you know, but I don't... but like,
well, like, personally.
Yeah, right. But, like, in my normal everyday life, I don't know who my enemies are. But I do think about people who are strangers and people who I have judgments about. And I think about, you know, this story confronts me.
Yeah.
This story confronts me. What might God do with me if I was willing to be vulnerable, to extend a hand? Mm-hmm. That's Daryl Davis's story. When he first meets with the Grand Wizard, the Grand Wizard doesn't know he's meeting with a black guy. And so they meet in a hotel room for an interview for a book he's writing, and he just turns the corner and there's Daryl Davis with his hand extended. And
that is terrifying. And I'm not black.
And he has a bodyguard, like an armed guard with him.
Yeah, understandably.
Understandably.
No,
like,
not Daryl.
Oh.
The Grand Wizard.
Oh.
Yeah, so the Grand Wizard, it's called a Nighthawk. He has
I gotta watch this documentary. There's a lot of words
he has a bodyguard, an armed guard with him. So, and Daryl Davis is unarmed. He's got his assistant with him. That's it. And they turn the corner and they see him, and there's Daryl Davis smiling with his hand extended. And
shout out to the assistant, honestly.
I mean, it's just
because I would have been like, you want me to do what?
The courage of this guy.
Yeah.
You know, like literally putting his life on the line for the sake of peace.
Yeah.
For the sake of reconciliation. And it's like, not to go all complete race on it, because there are plenty of other ways that we can be a part of this mission of peace. But the other thing that comes to mind, it always makes me cry, is when I think about the quote from MLK, like, we will outdo you with our ability to suffer, and when we win, our victory will be twofold. Because we not only will we have won our freedom, but yours as well. It's like, fucking what?
It's like,
yeah, it's like,
good job not breaking the mic.
I tried really hard.
That guy was just on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
You know? It's like a whole different way. Like, was that guy doing shrooms? Like, what was going on?
What is
It's probably like ayahuasca.
Yeah, like, how did he understand
No,
that?
he was on ketamine. He was really chill.
like that depth of like grace and
Yeah.
love and complete ability to see my brother, my sister, like that is on a like. I can't imagine being able to achieve that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this guy just changed the world with it, and so did Ananias, so did Daryl Davis, and so did Jesus.
Yeah.
And so are we called to do this. And these are grandiose examples, but
But the power
They
of
happen
friendship
day to
is
day.
real, y'all.
I really do. I mean, like, last week we talked about people who have been Jesus for me. And they weren't changing the world, but they changed my world.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
And so, like, the calling for us to do this and be this, not just for the people around us, but also for the people that might harm us. I do want to be careful, because boundaries are healthy and important, and
Absolutely.
I'm not asking anyone to be a doormat for anyone.
No. But you can hold boundaries with love.
Right.
You should.
You should.
Hold
Yeah, it
boundaries
is
with love.
good to do so. Yes.
In order to do so in a healthy way, you should do that.
But there is something to be said for, even the small petty examples, like the person in traffic. It's like, you don't know their day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know their life.
And that-
like, to hate them for that is...
It brings me to like a place of like when I was in mental health institutions, like not a secret, whatever. There you meet so many different people. So of all kinds of things going on. Like
Yeah.
between like bipolar, depression, schizophrenia, like people don't know who they are, people don't know who
Yeah.
you are. Like, you know what I mean? And it comes from a place of like, you have to, in that situation, for me, in order to heal myself, I had to hope for healing for them too.
Yes.
And like you can't it goes back to what we were talking about. Like, you have to be Jesus for someone, and someone is Jesus for you. And like, obviously there's people that are put in your path that you're not necessarily going to be like first to not pass judgment on, because like we all do it.
Yeah. We're
But like
human.
having to take that second and be like, okay, you don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's very obvious what's going on with them, and it's like, whoa, okay, I can't necessarily help you.
Yes,
but I
still-
can point you in the direction of someone that can help you.
Still make safe choices.
Yeah, don't
be safe and make safe choices. And also,
Protect your peace.
harboring hatred and anger towards someone.
It only hurts you.
I mean, it is a cliche about, like, it's like taking a poison pill hoping it's going to defeat your enemy or whatever.
Yeah.
It really is that way.
Yeah.
Harboring anger and hatred against someone, most of your energy will go completely unnoticed by whoever it is you are hating.
Yeah.
But you will have a bad day.
Yeah.
And potentially worse, So God is calling us to love and grace and reconciliation. When it's not safe to do that, I encourage you to really prayerfully consider that, because
Also, like,
Ananias takes a risk by going to Paul, so there is a calling to take risks, but also the level of
Be
risk.
smart about-
right.
don't just like walk into a serial killer's house and be like, I can change you. Like, don't
Right.
do that.
Yeah. Right.
Like,
yeah. And
maybe-
especially like abuse. The thing that I'm really concerned about is abusive
Abuse,
domestic
yeah.
violence situations, things like that.
But there are people that
It's
you
like,
can help.
Don't think you can change that like, get out of there, be safe, and if you ever are really called to re-engage that person, do it from a place of power and protection and safety.
Yeah, and like
Absolutely.
always,
You know?
like, and especially in that situation, like you can always get cops involved and still be gracious to that person.
Yes.
By getting someone in that can actually stop the situation and help
Right.
the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
take-
you don't have to be the one doing it.
Take
you can always
precautions.
like initiate that.
Yes.
Be like, hey, you're not safe to your, because I think of people that are going through mental health crisis. Like, I can't
Right.
stop what's
Yeah.
happening
If
to
somebody's
you,
having a psychotic break,
but I can call somebody to help you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's doing what
you
we're
don't,
asking.
you don't have to hate them. You can have empathy and understanding
Yeah.
while that's happening.
Right.
From afar. You don't have to be
and
right on
also,
it.
yeah, and also not be the one who's going to like
Be-
tackle them and
Yeah, they
and
like
subdue
people
them,
go
you
to
know?
school and like have jobs for that. So like
Right,
maybe
yeah.
call one of those people.
And training.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for I
But
encourage you
everyday
to-
situations, like a road rage situation, like
And
I say it all the time in like traffic, and I'm like, I don't know what they're going through. Like
Yeah. You're really good about it. I'm really bad about it.
Yeah, I'm really quick.
I get road rage pretty quick.
I get road rage pretty bad.
Yeah. I like this is a message that I need.
Yeah.
I have to take a look at this.
For sure.
And there is something to the this is a practice. So start small.
Yeah, like it's taken a lot to
Don't
flex
go
that
meet with,
muscle of like giving people grace, but I also
give
got to a
yourself
point
grace
where
while you do it.
I
You know?
acknowledged
Like,
the fact that
yeah.
like I needed grace in so many situations, and I was acting out because I needed, and so I'm just hyper aware of it
Yeah.
at this point
Yeah.
that I'm like,
You're going to have lots of opportunities to put this into practice. If you get one wrong, don't beat yourself up.
yeah,
Like just acknowledge like, oh, that was one of the chances.
like
All right.
I could have handled that
I'm
better.
gonna look for the next one.
time.
I'm going to look for the next one. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I bet
Yeah.
you can find 3 in the next week
Yeah,
of where you can-
absolutely.
Yes.
where you can be like, I'm gonna hate you a little less because like
Yeah, I'm still angry. I still am upset. But
when I'm on the phone with unemployment tomorrow.
I will at the very least admit that you are a beloved child of God.
I'm not
And
happy about
I'm-
it
and
in
that
this moment.
I am capable of being a jerk also,
yeah.
and that we're all in this together. Like
That's gonna
it's a
be me
practice.
on the phone tomorrow at 9 a.m. with unemployment. So
there you
everyone
go.
pray for me.
No one can say we're all in this together around me. I'm just every time.
He doesn't get it. He's old.
Yeah, I don't know. High
School Musical.
the High School Musical. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I got it.
I did.
Don't
I
worry,
did.
there will be High School Musical karaoke at our
I married
bachelorette
slightly
party.
young, so that's the only reason.
Yeah.
That was funny.
All right. We've gone on long. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.
Ah, them.
Woman.